Hey, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Paul Waller again. I am the president and founder of Christian Sports Medicine Alliance, and you are watching now episode 12 of Medicine with a Mission, Faith, Family, and the Profession. Zoomcast, podcast, whatever we call them nowadays. This episode will actually, I believe, air on this coming Sunday in March. I think that's March 7th for National Athletic Training Month. So in this whole month, every single day, we are highlighting a Christian athletic trainer around the country to allow them to share their story, their testimony of in their faith in Jesus Christ and how their faith is integrated into the workplace. So today we have as our guest Jonathan Allen. How you doing today, Jonathan?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing good. Thank you very much. Jonathan, I just want you to share with us kind of where you are, what you do, what your workplace is like, and just kind of then we'll go into your story.
Okay, that sounds good. So like Paul said, my name is Jonathan Allen. My current, it's my listed as my day job. So my full-time job is I am an assistant professor and the clinical education coordinator at a smaller Division II school in Jackson, Tennessee, called Union University. So I have to say that slow or I tongue tie myself. So Union University. So we're a D2 size school. Came here in 2012. So in August of 2012, came down here. And I'm sure we'll maybe get that some of the questioning later on, but because of God completely and Him literally kind of laying things out for my family and I to come down here at the time. So that's my day job. I also I can't say moonlight because I do it during the day now. It's not just now in the evening, clinical coverages like before, but I still do practice clinically. I would do some contract work for a couple smaller PT clinics around here. I cover, like tonight, I'm covering a high school basketball, the region tournament for basketball for my school. And I say it's my school because that's really the only school I work with. So I'm consistent with the one high school I'm at, which is a small little bitty 1A school, which is awesome. I get to work with kind of the small rural kids, and that's where I'd rather be at anyway. And then I also do some industrial medicine. So I get kind of a gamut of different things. And I don't know all the questions you're going to ask later on, but there's a bunch of other things I've done along the way that have tied into my idea of service and what I do and why I do it and why I want to continue to do it. So I work in some industrial things, some industrial settings. I work at the high school setting, mainly in the fall, of course, for football and basketball and things like that. And then my full-time job is that as a professor and mentor and educator. So
what brought you to Union?
Needing to do a big change of pace, let's put it that way. So I'm originally from Indiana. So I went to I'm from kind of Southern Indiana area, started out at Indiana University and then transferred to Ball State University. And in doing so, just really found what I wanted to do in athletic training, in sports medicine, and ultimately in service. So I've always been a people person. My kids are all the time are like, are we on true leaving time or dad talking to people out the door time? So it's, that's kind of how it goes. And so I'm very much a people person. So when I transferred up to Ball State, really fell in love and found out what athletic training really was and finished up my stuff there and ended up staying there and doing my grad work. They had me come back and be a grad assistant. So my first gig out of, full-time job out of school was I went to a high school. Everyone was kind of being groomed and kind of thought I even was going to stay in more the college setting, probably around the Great Lakes region there, and a lot of different opportunities were kind of happening there. And my wife was going to stay and be probably a college professor along the way. And boy, those roles will flip now from what they are now. So, but I ended up taking a job at a high school, and my mentors were kind of like, you can't pass this up money wise and opportunity and stuff like that. And I'm so glad I did, because I got to go there and like really get in with a community. And it wasn't even where I was from. It ended up being where my wife was from, kind of by accident. It wasn't even on purpose. And I got to go there and build basically a program and start kind of from scratch and show them in a smaller community what someone there with them all the time can do for them, and the benefits of having, an athletic trainer with them that's there to not handle just the bumps and bruises and broken bones and sprains, but the heart conditions and the general medical stuff and things like that. And so I took that, and then I took a role. I had two kids at the time, and thought, I need to, maybe being home more would be good, and hours, and uh, got a good raise. And I took over the job as the outpatient rehab director, and really kind of director of all rehab services. So, speech, OT, PT, athletic training, inpatient, outpatient, the schools. I was like, oh, this is great. I'll get to do my stuff and kind of lead from that standpoint. And I tell my students all the time, it's the worst career decision I ever made, was to become that type of an administrator at that time and where I was at and stuff like that. And finally in 2000, that was for a couple of years there, leading up from, I started in 06, in May of 06 as the high school athletic trainer, transitioned over in the fall of 2010, and I did both roles until the spring of 11, when I hired a former student from a friend from Ball State to come down and replace me, and I became her boss. And then anyway, did that, and we got to the point where I just got to the point psychologically and mentally and everything where my wife was like, hey, you're not right, something's got to change. And that was, I know it was God's kind of vision and direction and movement through her, that, hey, you're not who you normally are. And you're not happy, you're not my own walk with God was kind of suffering there a little bit, just as because of that mental state I was in. And she just kind of said, hey, let's look at doing something different, something's got to change. And I said, well, what do you guys, if you had one place to move to, what would it be? And she's like, well, I don't know, Tennessee might be kind of cool. I said, well, that's good, because I just found a job and I'm getting ready to put my resume in for it. And it was for a teaching position. And I've always kind of taught, I feel like our job as healthcare providers, and as essential healthcare providers, is that we're there to educate and teach our community at all times. Now, it's not necessarily in the true teacher role, but I'm educating, the moms, the dads, the grandparents, the siblings on what does it look like to be healthy? What does it look like to prevent injury? What does it look like? What happened to you as the athlete or your kid? And this is what's going on. This is what this is going to look like. This is what the next week or the next few months, the next years are going to look like. Or maybe, now we have a catastrophic injury. This is what your life is going to probably look like for a little bit. And, educating them on what we're capable of doing and how we can be beneficial to them and to their community. And then, anyway, so I applied for that job, and that was in like June of 2012, and got a call that same day. And it was really funny. Like, most of you guys can all relate, I'm sure, or most of us can relate. Like, when God is on something, God is on something. And when he's directing it, it's like, sometimes it is like the Red Sea just parts, and it's like, hey, you're dumb if you don't walk through here right now. Like, you can't, there's no way to deny it. And that's what kind of happened. And this is my long story of, answering your question, but basically it was like, I called down, or, they gave me a call, and I was in my car, and I just pulled over and was talking to him for a second. And he said, you went to Ball State? And I said, yeah. And he says, well, do you know a so-and-so? And I was like, well, yeah, he was one of my former students when I was a grad assistant. He's like, yeah, he's our best preceptor. He was our best person we ever had down here. And he just left when the other university here closed, and et cetera, et cetera. And I actually called him about you, and before I called you, and he's like, he spoke really highly of you. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool, and that's like, I, didn't even know, and so then that individual called me, and he was like, hey, just let you know, like, they're already high on you. And so I was like, okay. So then another one of my references called me, and he said, hey, I got off the phone with someone down at Union University. I was like, yeah. And he said, it's funny that you call that I'm your reference down there, because I know 2 or 3 of the professors, and my wife is friends with the president's wife. And I was like what? Like, like all these things. So it was neat. And we came down, and then like they literally rolled out the red carpet and said all these things and did all these things. And we were kind of leery. Like, we were moving from my wife's hometown, more or less. And we had, 3 kids now, and she had a good job, and we didn't really want to move. And I thought, it's, 6-7 hours away from all the family. Do we really want to do that? And, you know, so I told God, okay, God, if they pay me more money, then we'll go. And they gave me an offer the day or so after we got back, and it was for $5 less than what I was currently making. I was like, are you serious? I was like, okay, that's not definitive enough. Like, come on, like, because there were still too many other things happening. And I went into work the next day and met with my boss, and I just had this vibe when I went in there that something wasn't right. And she started doing a bunch of questioning and kind of questioning us as a profession too, which is weird. And like, the validity of what we're doing and us billing for service. Anyway, long story, billing for service, things like that. And I walked out and told my wife, and I called her, and she was actually calling me at the same time. She's like, I'm ready to quit and go to Tennessee. And I was like, oh, okay. And she was fine. I mean, her job was great. She wasn't wanting to leave at all. So I said, okay, resigned, called them right then and said, hey, we'll take the job and we'll be down there. And it was a whirlwind 4 weeks to figure out what we're doing and be down up there and move a whole family of now 5 down here. And I now have a family of 7, but move everybody down here and get settled in a 3-bedroom apartment and hope for the best. So it's been
Wow.
9 years now, almost 9 years. So crazy.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So you had said previous that you were going to transition into you being at Union now and talking about your why you do it.
Uh-huh.
Kind of explain to me, I kind of have a feeling why you do it just from talking to you. Why do you do what you do?
As a professor or as an athletic trainer?
Both. And
All the above?
as all the above.
Okay. I chose to do what I like. So I tell everyone my profession is I'm an athletic trainer. I just do it through the standpoint of being a professor now. It's kind of my way of looking at it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Or my calling is to be an athletic trainer. I do it because I want to serve other people. And I want to serve other people through a capacity that I feel like is not common. I could have gone to med school probably, or it could be a pastor or something like that if I felt like that's where I was supposed to be. But I like being in the trenches with people, and I get to do that, whether that be through middle school kids, through high school kids, through college age kids, from the athletic or from the education standpoint, whether that be working with my industrial people, my industrial athletes I work with, and educating them on this is why things hurt, and they're not having any idea why we do it. So I do it because I want to serve. And that is how I serve. That's how I feel like God has opened the doors for me to serve. I didn't do the military. Looking back now, maybe I wish I would have done that early on, just to have some of that experience as far as seeing it from that lens, especially because I like the idea of working with the military. Excuse me. But I feel like this is my way of giving back to community and people in ways that people wouldn't think about. Does that make sense? So everyone thinks about a doctor, but your doctors aren't hanging out in the gym with the kids. They're out and they're not standing on the sideline when it's pouring down rain and just muddy and nasty, and loving on them and serving on them in some, other capacity they don't even realize most of the time. And from the professor standpoint specifically, I've caught myself the last couple of years. I think my mindset has shifted a little bit and why I'm doing what I'm doing, or struggling with some things. I'm saying, working with this demographic of people sometimes is I realize that my job, my calling is to teach life, but it's now teaching life through a profession. Does that make sense? So my job is to teach you guys life. I just happen to do it through the realm and the lens of athletic training. So that's how I look at it. Like, so my role of, especially with the college students, is like the guys, I want to teach them what it looks like to be a godly man. What does it look like to talk with your students and openly and pray with them, and be involved with them, and talk about my wife and what she means to me and how she's involved in my life, and my 5 kids. And I bring them in. My wife and kids come here, and the kids see them, and we talk about them. And so I want them to understand life and what that looks like, life lesson wise. And sometimes they don't like it because it's a little hard and they don't get the grades they want and things of that nature. But that's gonna, in my opinion, that's gonna help them be better Christian men and women and leaders in the communities later on in life than by not doing that. So.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So
does that answer your question?
it's a great segue into my next question. How has your faith been integrated into, and I know obviously Union, you're at a Christian university, but how has your faith, even at a Christian school, and even Ball State, and when you're even at Indiana, how has your Christian faith been integrated into your profession?
Well, here by default, it's easy to kind of do that, or to have the ability to do that without being questioned. And that's one of the biggest things. Like, we're evaluated on that from the student standpoint of, in our classes, how well do we integrate faith and learning, basically. So I can say real well, it's easy to talk about, we're talking about the body. It's easy to talk about how God created us, and how we're these perfect images, and how complex we are and how amazing the body is. Like that's the easy ways to talk about, because it is. I some of that in my gen medicine class I'm teaching right now, and talk about how yesterday I was just like, you guys think about this, like we're the most complex things known to man. Like we really are. Like we only use 10% of our brain. It's like how cool is that that's how we were created from that standpoint. And that's what we can do. We can heal ourselves, we can prevent injury, we can take care of ourselves, and our bodies will sustain ourselves if we let it, and if we do the right things for it. But the big thing is kind of going back to what I was talking about with that why, is integrating my faith into, I think hopefully I do it without people even understanding, or without me even realizing, like almost subconsciously, like doing it, like just by letting them know that I'm there, like that I want to be there. I want to talk to them. I want to hear them out. We had a kid who's been, he's 3 semesters into our 6 semester program, and he's been struggling, not in the classwork. He does fine. He's a great kid. Was going to have shoulder surgery, stopped playing baseball. And here in, I could just tell he wasn't wanting to do this. And that's okay. I'm okay if you don't want to be an athletic trainer. I'd rather you not. And we kind of had some mentor sessions and some, prayer time together and things like that. And it ended up getting, after Christmas, he came back and he just said, like, hey, can I talk? And I knew when he came in what he wanted to do. I said, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to move you to exercise science. And he's like, how did you even know I was going to tell you I wanted to do this? And I was like, I just know, I can tell, by talking with you more. And um, that's how I want to integrate what I'm doing, is by being a person with these kids, not by being a professor and someone who's over them. It's real easy for it's real easy for a professor, someone like, we can stereotype that, the jacket and patches and elbows and, and the bow ties and blah, blah, blah. I can rock a bow tie great. You just can't see it under the beard anymore because the beard's too long. But like, but that doesn't, I can do the same thing by being in shorts and a t-shirt, or khakis and a polo shirt, like the standard typical wear, they'll joke that I like to be a person that I feel like that they can approach. So they joke that, it's getting warm here soon. I'll be in Chaco sandals all the time. Like that's what I wear to teach. That's what I wear to come out and do stuff. And because that's just me, I want them to see me, not some, and not even a false version, but just some doctored version of myself. Does that make sense? So I want them, when they get me, before they're ever even our program, when they get me when they're leaving our program, that those 3 to 4 years I've been together with them, that they've seen my life and I've been able to see their life and integrate us together. And I feel like, God puts people in our paths, and he puts us in people's paths before we even realize, or they even realize, that we need each other. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So like, you and I've talked on and off for a few years now about different things, and it was leading up to this and possibly something past this point. That's how it works. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's the kind of the way. So it's my roundabout way of just saying, I try and integrate faith every day in every way that I can possibly, and not just by outwardly saying God did this and God is so good. And, with the joke around here, it's like all the Sunday school answers, you know what I'm saying? Like it's easy to say, yeah, he created us and that's wonderful and we're his creation and et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not saying that's the obvious thing, but that's an obvious thing when we work in healthcare for us as Christians. But I can do that even more so by being involved in their lives directly or indirectly, without even truly talking about God, just by loving them, you know what I'm saying? And being there for them and with them and being a part of their lives. I think I think that's the way I integrate my faith into my time with them and what I'm trying to do. And I don't integrate faith in learning. I want to integrate faith in life. Does that make sense? So
absolutely. I think that we have I'm kind of I'm where you are, and I can probably get several of my former students at my last high schools to testify to this, that I am now, wasn't necessarily then when I was at school, but I am now. I am probably closer to them now than I was when I was in school.
Yeah,
closer to them in school. I think we sometimes not necessarily struggle, but we try to figure out how to have that balance of of being a real person that they can trust and that we develop that relationship with, but then also not crossing those not as a parent, um, you probably tell your kids, I'm not your best friend, I'm your
Yeah.
parent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same thing goes for us as athletic trainers.
Yeah.
We are your athletic trainer. We're not your best friend, but you also want to develop those relationships. And I think for me as a believer, and you as a believer, I think for me, it's easier for me to develop those relationships because of Christ living in me.
Correct. I
So,
agree with that completely. Like, it's funny you're talking about this, and I got a kid. I'm going to see him tonight, but he's my starting quarterback the last year or so, and he has a tendency to lose his head every now and then. And we all know how that goes. And he and coach will butt heads sometimes, and not in a horrible way. He's just a competitor and he's intense, but he has his moments where he's kind of dramatic and needs to be put in his place sometimes. And but he and I have that relationship enough that I can kind of grab him and spin him around, like, hey, you're better than that. You know more than that. Like, I need you to be a leader. I don't need you to be a, like da 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 da. And without saying anything wrong, without demeaning or demoralizing him or putting him down, but like, I need you, they need you to do, and you need to do be better. It's like, and he and I have that, and he's come to me numerous times. He's like, I'm so glad that you're just around. Like, I like just having you around, that, I can come over here and I'll punch you or you'll punch me, or we'll look, play around and talk, but that I'm still serious enough and have that line, that they know that there's that line there, that if Jonathan has to go into that mode, that he's there because he's there for us and he's full in at all times if something happens. And that's why that's why I make less money covering games for them than I would other places, because I feel like they're my people. Like I'm what they have. And honestly, lots of times I'm the only healthcare provider they're going to see for a season. I hope I'm the only one they see, because that means like they weren't hurt, or things didn't happen or whatever. But I've coordinated their care for general medical stuff. I've coordinated their care for a dentist. I've coordinated their care to go see an eye doctor, and ENTs, broken bones, all those things. It's like they realize more and more that, like, and they said, and I've had parents tell me, like, you're just here, like, you're here for the kids. We may only see you once a week, but we know that you're here, and we know that you're a phone call away, and that I will, and it might be to a fault sometimes, like, focus on them more than my family or other things going on and stuff like that. But but my family's pretty cool too. They know that when I'm in that mode, and that's what I'm engaged in, that's what I'm in, and like, they know I'm there focused on that care of those kids and those people. So
awesome. Well, Jonathan, before we close out, I want to ask you, and I'll ask this of everybody that we do these calls with, is what's that verse or verses
oh man
that you could classify as your foundation, it's just the foundation of your life, of your house, of, I mean the house physically that you live in, but your house, that your body, I mean your journey. What is that verse or verses that you go to?
I'll be completely honest. I don't know if I can quote you the exact verse specifically, but I know that my calling is what I feel God has put us all here to do, and that is to completely love others. Love others and love him over myself any day. And that we all struggle with that, and I struggle with that. Like, but I know no matter what, it's as simple as that. Love others. And that's, love him and love, like, the church I used to go to in Indiana, it was like, love others, love God more and more. And that's the thing, like, that's just the best way I can explain it is, so it's more of a, I guess, phrase, and it's a group of verses, yes, too, but like, then a specific verse is just, it is my job. He doesn't have to tell me every day what my job is, because he has given me the opportunity and told me that, figuratively or whatever, but like, that my job is to love those people he puts in front of me today. You and I are talking today, and we haven't talked in months, and it's like, hey man, what's up? How are you? And like, I can love you and talk with you just right now, and we're going to have a conversation after this about some other things, and that could curtail into things like, I had a student, it's funny, I had a student the other day say he's afraid of me, and I was like, wait, what? Like, me of all people? And they were like, some of his classmates laugh and like, Jonathan? They're like, no, but he's like in a good way, like, and he said, he goes, he loves us, he takes care of us, and he wants us to do it. And so, but at the same time, that could be not hard love, but you know what I'm saying? Like that my love is enough that they appreciate it and see it. And I just think that that's my down and dirty basic way to say it is my role is to love others more and more. And that's
Yeah.
what I feel like I'm called to do. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Jonathan, I appreciate very much, you knocked it out of the park today, man. It was a great one.
I appreciate it. So
And if you're when you watch this or watch any of our previous videos or the ones that we're going to be posting every day, if you want to know more about Christian Sports Medicine Alliance, visit us at christiansportsmed.org. If you want to be a supporter of us in any way possible, you can do it on our website as well. You can also follow us on Twitter at tweetcsma. We also have, if you're an athletic trainer and you want to have a place that you can go to, on Facebook, it's called Beyond the ATR. It is a Facebook page specifically for Christian athletic trainers that we can go and do life and be a safe place that we can just go and share our faith, ask for encouragement, ask for prayer, whatever. We have really grown exponentially over the last 3 or 4 years since that page was launched. We would love your support at Christian Sports Medicine Alliance as we look to fulfill our mission, which is to make God known in and through our profession by educating, equipping, and serving. So until next time, thank you again for joining us on Medicine with a Mission, Faith, Family, and the Profession. Jonathan, again, thank you very much for joining us.
thank you very much. And I want to just second what you're saying about that Facebook group. It's wonderful. Like to go see it from, Facebook's kind of a crazy world most of the time, but like, to see it, we can go on there and realize that what I'm getting is other individuals, like-minded individuals who want to do nothing but serve God and serve the people that they're around. And again, that's the mission of that. And that's what I think you guys are doing a great job with that. And thank you for letting me be involved in this today. So
thank you very much. I appreciate it. You have a great one, Jonathan.
thanks, you too.
Bye now.
Bye.